Hey everyone, welcome back to Feeling Full and Finally Free, a caregiver's healing journey. I'm Jeanette Yates, and for today's episode, we're focusing again on the importance of setting boundaries, specifically different boundary types that come into play and how they work together. As caregivers, setting boundaries isn't just about making time for ourselves, it's about creating a multifaceted approach that allows us to truly experience the benefits of our breaks. I mean, have you ever tried to take a break or even finally gotten that break you need as a caregiver, and then you go off to the beach or get that massage or a night out and you just can't enjoy it? Well, that is why we're talking about this today, because if you don't have all of these boundaries in place, your break is not going to work. And so we're going to dive in today and talk about the types of boundaries that you need, how to set them, and how they're going to set you free. All right, here we go. So let's dive in. Let's start by understanding the types of boundaries that are included when we set a boundary, especially one for taking a break. So the first type of boundary to know about is that physical boundary. This involves being physically unavailable. For example, stating, I will not be present, I will not be at your house, I will not be able to attend to your needs for a specific duration. This is a physical boundary. You're letting them know, I'm going to separate myself from you. I'm going to go away for a certain amount of time, which brings me to the next boundary, which is the time boundary. This is about setting a specific time when you will not be available. So I will not be available. I'm leaving the premises for this amount of time. So we have our physical boundary and we have the time boundary. This signifies a clear time boundary. So one of the reasons that you need both of these is you're letting them know, not only will I not be physically here, so I'm going to be away, but also I'm not going to be available during this time period. So that means I will not be answering my phone. I will not be responding to text messages, things like that. So that is why you need both of those boundaries especially when you're setting that taking a break boundary. Okay. And then the third type, or third and fourth type, depending on how you look at it, I've lumped them into just one, but emotional and mental boundaries. Now, this is more for, something that is internal with you. So you don't even have to talk about this boundary with your person. This is something for you. So this involves freeing your mind from worry and guilt so that you can fully enjoy the break. It is crucial to acknowledge this boundary because without it, the physical break might not provide the respite that you really need. And I speak to caregivers all the time that deal with this. I too used to be that person that literally could not take my mind off of all the things that either could be happening or sometimes maybe even were happening because I was constantly thinking, checking my phone, scrolling, texting back and forth, instead of allowing myself to be present during my break time. Now, of course, there are extreme emergencies, but I think a lot of times we define things that are emergencies that really aren't emergencies. That's probably another podcast, but for the sake of our discussion here, we want to talk about this idea of taking a break and then allowing yourself to actually be on that break, giving up and letting go of that worry and guilt long enough for you to get that respite that you need. So these boundary types all work together, and it's necessary that they do in order for you to get that time. When you plan a caregiving break to spend time on yourself or with your family and friends, setting boundaries means more than just informing others of your physical absence and your unavailable time slot. So let's say that you've scheduled a caregiving break for Saturday. You're going to take a break on Saturday. The physical boundary is you inform your loved one that you are not going to be there to care for them. And then your time boundary is going to tell them how long this break is going to be. Mark this period in your calendar as exclusive me time. Now, whether you spend it by yourself or not, that's up to you, but that is time for you. Mark it in your calendar, mark it in the caregiving calendar. If you are caregiving with a family, with other family members, mark this as your time. And this is not part of my notes here, but I'm going to step in here and say, No one is going to give you the time if you don't take it. You have to take it. You have to put it down. And especially if you're caregiving with other people in the mix, especially if you're perceived as the go-to caregiver, they're going to tell you all the reasons why they can't handle it if you take time to yourself. Listen, the only way you're going to get that time is to take it. Tell them you have confidence in them, even if you don't. Tell them you have confidence in them, and then set that boundary, put it in the calendar, get ready to walk away. All right. I know I'm speaking some tough love, but I'm telling you it's the only thing that works. All right. Now, this is where that emotional and mental boundary comes in. You can consciously decide to shed the worry and the guilt. This is ensuring that your mental space is also free during this time. Now, this is something that takes practice. Okay. So if you are coming from a place where you are always on your phone and always worrying and always checking things when you're gone, I'm not, you can go cold turkey. That is an option, and it may work for you, but maybe you're like, I'm not so sure I can do this. What if? Now we're trying to get rid of all that what if, but depending on the situation with your loved one, all of those things, it may be important for someone to be able to get in touch with you. However, you can set up an extra little buffer there. I'm going to give you some ideas here that allows there to be a little space. Okay. So let's say you're like, okay, I want to have this, day at the beach by myself. I don't want to check my phone, but also what if something happened, right? We live in this, a lot of caregivers, especially if your loved one is in a precarious situation, you live in that what if space. In order for you to practice not what ifing, not worrying, not guilting yourself about the time that you're taking away, it is helpful to set in some buffers. So here's a couple of things that you can do. One thing you can do is if you're by yourself, maybe you say to someone that is not in the caregiving group. So in my case, my husband is not in the caregiving group. He's not responsible for any of the caregiving for my loved one. So I might, when I'm setting that physical and time boundary, I will also then say to my husband, hey, I'm going to go dark on my phone for the intents and purposes of caregiving, but can you be the emergency go-to if something happens? Can I tell the people they're going to be on duty to call you if there's an emergency? Now, here's what's going to happen is the people that are helping with the caregiving, they may be more inclined to call you for every single thing, but if they have to go through someone else to get to you, they're going to temper what they think is important. Okay. They're going to hold back and say, do we need to call her? Do we not? Are we going to have to call him? And then, is this something that we want to go through to get to her? They're going to take that extra step before they make that phone call to your buffer person. Now, if somebody's with you, then you don't even have to necessarily tell the other people that are going to be on duty while you're stepping away that you're going to have this buffer. You can just hand your phone to the other person and say, if a message comes in, don't let me know unless it looks like an emergency. And that's an option too. So there's a couple of different ways you can handle that there, but trying to get a little bit of space there, is helpful. Now, if you're like, well, I don't have anybody I can, that I can do that with, then I would give yourself a designated time to check in. I'm going to the beach for a day, and I'm not going to check my phone. And I would tell them I'm not checking my phone. And if they say, what if, say, if you need me, you can, call and leave a message or text. One thing that I did was I set up my do not disturb and maybe you can, if you have an iPhone, maybe you can do this. You have different focuses that you can set up. So you could have one that's like caregiving break, and the only number that's going to come in is either the text from X person or the phone call from X person, not both. So, for example, there was a period of time where my mom was the person that would be calling if she needed anything. And I said, listen, if you just want to tell me something, text me, because that can just stay there and I can read it when I want. If you have an emergency that you need me to attend to right away, call me. So the texting did not come through on my do not disturb, but the phone number did. The phone calls did. So that's another way to kind of set a little buffer. Sometimes people don't respect that, which is why it's good to have a person as your buffer. But if you can't do that, do the best you can. Like I said, baby steps in this. If you are used to always being on call and never having your phone away from you and always answering, then try to say, I'm going to go X amount of time without looking at my phone. I'm going to go X amount of time without answering my phone. That's the best way to baby step your way into this. Ideally, you can walk away from your phone and not worry about it. That's where I am now, but I did not start here. Okay. So I started at a place of baby steps. I'm not going to check my phone all the time. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go through some more practical steps here to help you set these boundaries. So this is stuff that we've talked about in other episodes, but I have found that the more I hammer this in, the better y'all receive it, get it, and hopefully start practicing it. So here we go. You may have heard this before, but physical and time boundaries, these are very important to clearly communicate your break to the person you're caring for and any other involved parties. So especially if, so depending on the level of caregiving your loved one needs, this may just be a matter of being like, hey, I'm going to be away from my phone. I'm not going to be able to, answer my phone for this day. I'll check in with you before I leave and when I get back. That may be enough. That person may be in that level of caregiving stage where they're kind of really tending to yourself. You're just checking in with them periodically. Maybe your parent is starting to age. They need a little bit of help. You're just checking in. That's one thing. Then as their needs have escalated, you might have to actually get somebody to step in for you, hire a person for a day, recruit a friend to help, things like that. So any other parties that are involved need to know about this break that you're taking. Then you're going to schedule your break on your calendar. So if you have a family calendar, you need to put it on there, but also put it on your calendar as if it is the most important commitment that you are making that day, because it is. Now, emotional and mental boundaries. This is where you will need to prepare mentally by recognizing that taking care of yourself is essential for effective caregiving. You have to start shifting your mindset. I would even, this may be a whole different episode. Again, I've already come up with 2 more episodes, y'all. But this is another area where this taking a break is not a bonus. This is not like something you quote deserved by doing all the hard work. So you've earned this in some way. You deserve it for all the hard work. No, you deserve it because you're a human and you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself every day, but we also deserve these breaks that we can take. Okay. So rewiring your mind even before you actually take the break, that this is something that you need to do for yourself, but it is also going to make you a more effective caregiver. Okay. We don't often, I don't spend a lot of time talking about this, that part where people always say, take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Put on your oxygen mask first and then put on everybody else's. I want you to just put on your oxygen mask and use it. I just want you to take care of yourself because you deserve it, because you are human, you are worthy of it. But just know, a more rested, a more nourished, a more relaxed person is a better caregiver, period. If you are stressed out, burned out, resentful, frustrated, angry, sad, all of those things, you are not at your best to be able to make the decisions you need to make as a caregiver. So this is really not a break in the sense of something extra. This is something that you need to do for yourself. We can take these big breaks. We need those little breaks too. Today, we're talking about these big breaks, but you've got to have them in order to have the capacity, mental, emotional, cognitive capacity to be an effective caregiver. And then as you take your break, you're going to practice self-compassion and remind yourself that it is okay to step away and recharge. It is okay. It is more than okay. It is necessary. Now, one of the biggest challenges that we have during these breaks is letting go of that worry and guilt. So I'm going to give you a few strategies to help you with those feelings of worry and guilt when they pop up. I have to tell you, I always, when I'm thinking about giving a new, developing a new resource for caregivers, I always want to talk about, living guilt-free. And while I do use those terms and want us to think about that, living guilt-free is a practice, because guilt is going to come up. What we do with it is the practice. That's the freedom, is what we decide to do with that guilt. And so as I go through some of these practices here, know that this is the way that I am able to let go of the guilt, even if it kind of trickles in a little bit when I'm attempting to live life outside of caregiving. Okay. So here are some strategies that can help you overcome worry and guilt while you're taking your break. Of course, practicing mindfulness techniques to stay present is very important. And of course, the more you practice these, even when you're not on a break, the better, the more they get into your mindset. So you can simply say, I am worthy of time to myself, to reinforce your right to take a break, your need for a break, your value as a person. You can also do some reflection exercises, or just reflecting. I don't know that it needs to be as formal as an exercise, but just spend time reflecting and thinking on other times when you've successfully taken a break from working hard, whether it be in caregiving or not. Maybe you've never taken a caregiving break. Maybe you've never been successful at it. But I bet there's a time where you have been successful taking a day off, taking a vacation. And think about when you have actually been able to let go, to relax, to de-stress, how it positively impacted your well-being and your ability to then come back into your duties once you got back. So whether it be as a caregiver or a coworker or whatever, reflect on times when taking a break did actually help you become more effective when you returned. And then, of course, your support systems are so very important. Make sure to seek support from friends, families, or caregiver groups who can remind you of the importance of self-care. And yes, you guessed it, I'm going to invite you once again to join the Self-Caregiver community, where our focus in there is on your self-care. All of us in there are caregivers. We're not focused in there as a group on the caregiving tasks that we have to do. We're focusing how in the middle of that, we're still tending to our own needs. So if you want to be able to be, have everybody understand what it's like to be a caregiver, but also be able to be yourself and think about the things that you need and want in your life that tend to your own needs and wants, that is what the Self-Caregiver Facebook group is all about. We'd love to have you join that. Check the show notes, and there'll be a link in there for you to join us. We'd love to have you there. We can be that support system for you. But of course, I hope that you also have friends and family that are willing to step in for you as well, because the more support you have, the easier it is to take that break. All right. So I also want to introduce you to another opportunity that I have for you. If you're thinking to yourself, I could never ask for a break. I don't know how to tell my loved one in my family that I need a break. I don't know how to say no when they ask me to do something. Then I want to let you know about my workshop, Say No and Mean It Without Being Mean. It's a workshop I did a few months ago. I have it available for you. This workshop will help you communicate boundaries with compassion and confidence making it easier for you to enforce them without the guilt. So it goes through how to have the hard conversations, how to say no, or really just set any boundary. So in this case, like, no, I'm not going to be available from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday. It helps you do that. For details and to grab this workshop, go to the show notes, and I will have a link for you there. You can always hop over to Instagram and comment workshop or DM me workshop, and I will send you the workshop details. And then I am also creating a bonus resource. I'm going to do a guided meditation for you at the end of this podcast episode, but I'm also going to share this script with you. So if you want to actually have it so you can practice it in your own words, check the show notes. There'll be a way for you to download that as well. I'd love to have you join me at the end of this episode to do this guided meditation now. Of course, you can also come back and listen to it on your own time, but it is going to be something to help you get through that guilt and worry. And it'll be good practice leading up to when you're setting those boundaries for your break that I hope that you will take for yourself really, really soon. And to wrap things up, just remember that setting boundaries is an essential part of caregiving. The physical, the time, and emotional boundaries work together to provide you the full benefit of your caregiving break. Implement these strategies to let go of guilt and worry and take the time you need to actually recharge. So important that they have all work together so that you actually are getting that respite that you need. Thank you for joining me today. Stay tuned for the guided meditation and like and subscribe to this podcast, to Feeling Full and Finally Free, to get more episodes every week. Take care and remember that you are worthy to live a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and healthy boundaries. So here is your bonus guided meditation script. I will be reading it and going through the guided meditation with you here. And then if you'd like to download it to read in your own voice, it will be available to you in the show notes. Welcome to the No Worry, No Guilt guided meditation. This session is designed to help caregivers release worry and guilt so they can fully enjoy their well-deserved breaks. Find a comfortable, quiet place where you can relax without interruption. Take a deep breath in and out as you settle into a comfortable position. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Inhaling and exhaling, taking a deep inhale, holding for a moment, and then exhale slowly. With each breath you take, imagine a wave of relaxation washing over you. Starting from the top of your head, moving down to your toes. Feel your body becoming lighter and more at ease. Now bring to mind a recent moment where you felt overwhelmed by caregiving responsibilities. Acknowledge the pressure, the worry, the guilt. As you hold this moment in your mind, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, release all of those burdens. Another deep breath in and release all of the guilt, the stress, the worry. Feel your body becoming lighter and more at ease as you continue to release all of the guilt, all of the stress, all of the worry. Repeat these affirmations silently or out loud. I'm going to read you 4 affirmations. I will say them all one time. I am worthy of rest and rejuvenation. It is okay to take time for myself. My well-being is essential for my caregiving journey. Worry and guilt do not serve me. I release them now. Now visualize a protective boundary surrounding you, a serene space where worry and guilt cannot enter. This boundary shields you from negative thoughts, allowing you to focus on the present moment. Imagine yourself engaging in an activity that brings you joy and peace. whether it's spending time with loved ones, enjoying a hobby, or just simply falling asleep and staying asleep. Feel the happiness and relaxation in this moment. Remind yourself, I am worthy of this time for myself. I am doing the best I can. As you prepare to end this meditation, take one final deep breath. Inhale peace, exhale worry. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and bring this sense of calm and release back into your day. Thank you for taking this time for yourself. Remember, you are important, and caring for yourself is not only okay, but it is necessary. You are worthy of the same care you give others.